It was.
Oh, hello, guys.
Hey,
Hey, this is the Button Mashers. Draco
it
here. Got
was.
Screw Loose on vacation. Hello, guys.
Hey,
Ooh.
Yeah,
Hey, this.
Virginia right now.
Oop. Yeah, they can hear us right now. Oh, sorry about that. I completely forgot to give you the warning, Michael, because of you guys talking. I hate to interrupt people. I'm a nice guy like that. Completely forgot about the timer
yeah.
there.
Well, I'm going to pick up that thought whenever we're.
Oh no, it's fine. We continue that thought in a minute because it's actually one of my favorite underground, I guess you could say underground, dark themed underworld type games, and that was you were talking about your character in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines.
Well, I didn't know if anybody would catch on, but yes, you're exactly right.
Yes.
And the character was what was his name?
Gibble.
Gimbal. And he would, in his attempt to come up with better and more perfect prosthetics, he would experiment on himself and cut off his own arm and things like that.
Yeah, he was kind of dark, even for a vampire game, and that's not the only character you played in that game. You played Beckett, which was like the lore master vampire.
Right. Yeah, that was that was a while ago, but that was I remember that one. Well, that was quite enjoyable.
Very, very long time ago. I do believe it was like mid 2000s that came out.
Yeah. Close to about 10 years.
Oh yeah. And the only reason why the game didn't do so well is because it was. And it's no discredit to White Wolf or anything like that because they're not the ones that actually made it. The game company that produced it released it with a ton of bugs. I mean, nowadays you can play it with pure bliss because there's a bunch of unofficial patches that make it much more playable. But a lot of people don't know Vampire the Masquerade because it's kind of obscure. White Wolf, not as big as D&D, and D&D is not that big in the grand scheme of things when you talk about video games. Even though you played in Baldur's Gate as well, which another throwback to the past there.
Well, there were if I look it up here, let me just to have it handy, I'm going to pull up IMDb because there was some really old stuff.
Yeah, I mean we're talking hugely old, early 1990s. Surprise! Me and Screwloose went through your list on IMDb there for a while there, and you were in 221 different titles. And because we kind of skipped over that, we're talking to Michael, and I am going to butcher your last name. Please tell.
Okay.
Please.
Well, okay. Yeah, you have. I'll give you 3 guesses.
Go.
You get to guess.
No, Michael, go.
Oh.
Like,
Go
like
as in
no,
proceed.
not go as in green light. Things that should happen.
That's one.
Michael Gough.
Ding, 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 ding.
Okay, there we go, Michael Gough.
It's like, in the English language, there are like 5 ways you can pronounce O-U-G-H. And this one is like cough with a G.
Now, hopefully you don't cough too much because, being Decker Kane, old and feeble.
Right. Well, I don't know if this is appropriate, but, I was always glad that my parents didn't name me Jack.
Really?
Just gonna leave it at that.
Oh, okay, I get it. Ha ha! Good call there.
Ay. I'm kind of looking back here at I guess the first video game credit that I see here anyway. There was some, there were like cartoon and animation things before that, but Freddie Farkas, Frontier Pharmacist.
Yeah. Now, granted, this is way back in the day when people did not research voice actors as much, and if people did not know their voice actors and follow them, they're like, and there wasn't Twitter back in the day. There was barely like massive stream of internet, so it was hard to keep track unless you absolutely knew someone like maybe I don't know, Jeff Bridges, because that name was very, 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 very popular.
Yeah.
but you were in Aladdin, the TV series. You were in Winnie Pooh. You were in Felix the Cat. You were in Dennis Menace, Bonkers, Goof Troop. Heck, you were Colonel Spigot in Tailspin.
Yeah. There's a little bit of an interesting thing regarding Colonel Spigot. Originally, somebody else was the voice of Colonel Spigot, and they had already animated, I don't know, at least maybe like 2 or 3 episodes. And for some reason, they just decided that that particular voice wasn't working. I think something may have had to do with the fact that it originally it had kind of like a Nazi accent, and I don't know why they decided that we're going to make a change. And at the time, I had been doing a few things for Disney, like Winnie the Pooh, but not too many. But at least they knew who I was, so I got to audition and got chosen to do Colonel Spigot, and I had to go back and like do the first. There were like 3 episodes, I think, that were already finished. So this was going back and matching the pictures, the animation, which is not usually how it's done.
No, it's not usually how it's done. Like with American animation, it's usually if I remember right, it's prelay. You usually get a chance to do the voices, and then they do the animation afterwards.
Yeah, right. When you're doing looping and things like that, then you're matching things to picture often, but not usually the case in animation. And this was one of the early things for me to actually match. So that's why maybe some of the rhythms sound a little funky on a couple episodes, because they couldn't change the what was already animated. But yeah, no, certainly have a fond spot for Colonel Spigot, and I was really surprised once upon a time to discover that there was a Colonel Spigot action figure, which I managed to grab one of.
Oh, nice! That's awesome, actually. There's a lot of people that we've interviewed quite a number of voice actors and actresses, and they always like to see their character in a figure form, in cosplay form, or in art form, and it always seems to surprise them when more stuff comes out, because you don't go into a character thinking, oh, this is going to be wildly popular. You always go into a character like thinking, no one's going to notice it.
Right.
No one notices this character. They've only had 5 seconds of screen time. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you know what a brony is or isn't, but you probably know who Lauren Faust and Craig McCracken are in the LA scene.
Yeah. I'm not sure what was the first name?
Craig McCracken? Lauren Faust?
Yeah, McCracken, I know, not Faust, I guess.
Lauren is his wife, actually.
Oh, okay.
They worked on Foster's Home, Powerpuff Girls together. They're friends with Jindy Tartakovsky.
Yeah.
They worked on a lot of animation.
Awesome movie coming up.
Yeah, they worked on a lot of animation together, and then Lauren got the chance to reimagine the new My Little Pony, which is the reason why a lot of fans are around it now, because she made it to where adults can enjoy it and kids can love it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's basically what a brony is. We appreciate her work as for making it not just a panned children's show like Dora the Explorer.
Think of it this way, just to give you a general idea, they make subtle references to so many pop culture things.
Big Lebowski. Yeah. There's Big Lebowski, soapbox drama. They do a bunch of Daft Punk. They do Star Wars. They do a bunch of different things that just throw back to say, hey, we know adults are watching.
I am completely reminded and it's kind of in the news here in LA, just because there's a big museum exhibit of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yes.
And when I was a kid, that was the show that was similar. It was like there were a lot of pop culture references that sort of went over your head, if you were a kid. But adults, it was funny, and it was it was fun for kids, and adults got a lot out of it because it was there was a lot of sarcasm and pop culture references. So
A lot of sarcasm, pop culture reference for the adult, and a lot of slapstick humor for the kids. I mean, it was something for everyone.
Yeah.
But Lauren made that to where it was possible, and that's the reason why we're here. I completely derailed my train of thought, like usual. I love Sundays, but it's one of those things where I'm sorry. It's one of those things where Lauren didn't go into it thinking it was going to be popular. She just did it because she loved it, and it wound up being popular. And I think, as a group, Bronies made her cry 2 years ago when they got her a giant portrait of a character made for her, and it said "Create" on it. And it was just framed in a beautiful, beautiful way. And she broke down crying on stage, if I remember right.
You are correct, sir.
Anyway, to move on from that touching moment, there's a lot of things on this list here that I wrote down beforehand. A lot of big name games and possibly big name animations that people of today would know for a fact, because I know there's a lot of young people that probably never played Baldur's Gate, even though they re-released it on Steam. Mainly because I'm an old fart and I'm 29.
God, you're so old.
Yeah, I know, right? Not to make fun of anyone's age here, because I know Skrillex is older than me too.
Oh God. Okay. I'm old enough to know that you actually were on TMNT and listened to you on the way back in the day.
Well, yeah, just for that last season. Yeah.
Long time ago.
But we were going through this list, and Decker Kane, you've been Decker Kane the entire Diablo series, from Diablo 1 to 2 to Lord of Destruction, Diablo 3, and unfortunately not in Diablo 3's expansion Reaper of Souls, because they had to kill off Decker Kane somehow.
Yeah, I'm hoping he can live on as like a ghost or a hologram or kind of an Obi-Wan or
like the Cow King or something like that.
Yeah.
Or zombie.
Well,
there you go.
There's a theory that I'm kind of partial to.
Brains.
No, that's okay. There's a theory I'm kind of partial to with Decker Kane. Kind of how they did the whole soul, like the Black Soul Stone. They never did destroy the Black Soul Stone, so what if Decker Kane's soul is in there and he accidentally becomes the next Diablo?
Well, hey.
There you go. But anyway, your Decker Kane Diablo series, your Elder Lions in Fallout 3, which is a hugely popular character.
God, to be honest with you, I can't remember that one.
Anytime I see Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines cosplay, it's either Beckett or Jeanette from the Jeanette, not Valentine or something like that. I can't remember the last name. The Malkavian who thinks she's her own sister.
So you're saying not the Mouseketeer?
No. You are all of the Carmines in Gears of War.
Well, so far.
Ooh, spoilers.
Ooh.
I don't know. I mean, how many? Yeah.
Effectively, you can say you've been killed every way imaginable in Gears of War series so far.
Well, speaking of, as you were, a few minutes ago, about things that you don't really expect, anything to happen from. I mean, the first Gears of War, I believe, when I first worked on it, the character didn't even have a name. I think it was just some kind of, generic soldier. And then they eventually, they gave him the name Anthony Carmine. But he bites the dust, gets his head blown off, and that was about it. But there was something, I guess, about that character that sort of caught the fancy of some people, and he sort of became a little cult figure, and then, of course, Carmine is back in Gears of War 2. Well, how could that be? He's dead. It's his brother. They sound alike, and at least the first two. The third brother is the older one with a little more testosterone.
You say head taking off. Insert 44 Magnum joke in here somewhere.
Oh God! Now, and people cosplay the weirdest things you would never think of. Like, I can't remember what con it was recently. There was a couple that dressed up as the Wayne family, minus Bruce, and ran up to every Batman character and just yelled "Son!" and dropped dead.
And now I'm sad.
You were in the StarCraft series as Tassadar.
Yeah.
You are I can't say any other way, a crap ton of voices in Skyrim.
Well, yes,
How did that happen?
Well, I don't know exactly why it happened, but I certainly believe that was, of anything I've ever done, far more lines. And I think when I was finished, they told me, you actually had more lines in this game than anybody. And they gave me a count. I don't remember exactly, but it was, I don't know. It was like 8,600 something.
Dear
lines.
God.
Did they pay you by the character?
No. No.
Did they go standard by line, or was it per booking?
No, it's by, a standard, a session, whatever. You get the time, whether it's, usually it's 4 hours at a time.
Well, that's not terrible. I mean, 8,000 lines, that's going to be a lot of sessions.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice, no complaints. It's, it was spread out over, it was a couple of weeks, I guess. And yeah, there were a lot of, different Nord characters,
A lot of throat kind of characters.
Yeah, like, oh God.
The one that just comes to mind immediately is Heimsker.
Yeah, that's it. Heimsker.
The apparently pretty annoying, zealous preacher, right? Who's screaming out about Talos and
And then there's the dragons, of course, like Paratrax. I think that's his name. I can never remember these names because they're so weird.
But there were
Partonax, that's it.
And mages and
oh yeah,
all kinds of. I mean, it was a blast,
Well, speaking of
to all our
Skyrim,
friends in the Sweden and Nordic areas, we don't. The opinions of Draco do not necessarily reflect.
Oh God, I want to get it from both sides today. Well, since you were on Skyrim, and one of not the main, but one of the bigger voice actors on there was Charles Martinet. Did you by any chance run into him at all during the voice casting?
Well, no. Now this is the same Charles Martinet who has been the voice of
Mario.
Mario, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did not know. But I have a very interesting little side note about Charles. He lives in San Francisco, I believe, and does most everything from there. So I did not run into him in person.
Oh.
However,
Oh, yeah, that's right. He does have a personal studio, doesn't he?
yeah, and he may go to a studio up there to do some things. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but my very first professional acting job was a theater thing. It was a play, and I'm originally from the Bay Area, around San Jose, Silicon Valley, as it's now called. And I had actually moved away, and I had gone to college, in Santa Barbara. Originally on a little teeny tiny athletic scholarship. That's a whole other story. So, well, I'll go back to that later, maybe.
Please do.
Yeah, it's quite it's like
it's quite interesting. Go from an athletic scholarship to like voice acting. Kind of a large leap.
It's all really funny. Yeah, okay. I'll try to not to meander too much here with this.
Oh, please meander as much as you want.
All you want.
Okay. No, meander as much as you want. I'll try to rein it in whenever I've got because I do have some questions I do want to ask. But
sure.
meander a little bit.
It all comes back around to Charles Martinet. So yeah, I was up from the Bay Area. Went to a junior college up there. I wasn't sure what I was gonna do, really, but I was an English major, and I was into music was the other thing. I thought, well, maybe I'll do that because that's my other thing is being a musician and music and stuff. But at the time, I was. Believe it or not, no, you can't tell by looking at me now, but I was a shot putter and discus thrower.
So you had a lot of muscle.
Well, yeah.
You don't need muscle. It's all style. I was 186 pounds, 6'1", and I was bringing home blue ribbons in high school and was asked to go to college doing shot put and discus. So, yeah.
Really? Wow. Well, I was 5'9", still am, and I got up to 230. So I was like, this little like fire plug. But I was pretty fortunate because at the time, right where I was going to junior college and in the whole kind of vicinity near San Jose, it was literally the mecca for all of that stuff in the world. All the best throwers in the world congregated there and worked out right there. And so those are the guys I learned from. And so that's one thing I know a lot about. And I actually coached Bruce Jenner right before he went off and won the gold medal in the Olympics.
Not bad.
And before he turned into whatever he is now. But so anyway, so I got this little very small athletic scholarship to go to UC Santa Barbara, which is where I ended up going. And it was great. It was fun, and I was pretty good. Most of the competitors were, bigger than me. They were like, 6'5", close to 300 pounds. But I was, still pretty big, and I had good, technique and all that. So I was pretty good. But I didn't really know what I was going to do. I was an English major, and I thought, I don't really want to teach English, and I don't know what else I'm going to do. And
not going to go to England.
Hey, I majored in English. Here I am, England. What do I do? So on a whim, and I think I've told this story before, so I hope I'm not boring anybody who's heard.
Oh, no. It's fine.
Right before I was about to graduate, I saw signs around the campus that said, audition for original one-act plays. These were the plays that were produced in the playwriting class. And I thought, I think that's something I'd like to try once before I leave college. I always enjoyed reading out loud. I think I had taken a class where you read stuff out loud, and I always enjoyed that. So just on a whim, I went to the auditions for this one-act, these original one-act plays, got picked to be in one of them, and it was just one performance, one night. And I'm still really good friends with the woman who wrote that play, who I met, in college. But it's sort of, something got me, it's like, ooh, wait a minute. This seems like something I might, be interested in doing. so I ended up sticking around in college, getting a theater degree. And so that's when that kind of all started. Then I moved to LA, and the very first audition I ever had, actually, because they called the theater department at UC Santa Barbara, the casting people, looking for, this was for the David Lynch film Dune, which the role that I auditioned for eventually went to Kyle MacLachlan, the lead in Dune. And so I was just kind of kicking around LA because that was the place to go if you were going to try to be an actor, at least, either there or New York. And I somehow got this opportunity to do this play back up in San Jose, ironically, my hometown. And it was the San Jose Repertory Theater, and it was my first union job of getting paid to act. And it was the play was The Tempest by Shakespeare.
Oh, nice.
And coming full circle, Charles Martinet was in that production of The Tempest.
Not bad.
This was long before I had any notions or even knew what doing voiceovers or voice acting was. So that's my Charles Martinet connection. We were in this play, and it was a huge production. It was like with a live symphony playing live music, and it was in this like 2,500 seat theater. It was a pretty big deal. And for me, it was like, ooh, I'm actually am I a real actor now? So right. Yeah, he was great, and I have seen him, here and there over the years, but we always, talk about that whenever we.
Well, that's kind of a cool connection. All right, let's go ahead and get down to the question asking.
Yeah.
Now, you've been in everything from Fallout to Tailspin. You've been in Disney animations. You've been in video games. You've been in movies. You've been in you've been in plays. You've been in a lot of things that a lot of people, no offense, would kill to be in. Big name games like Gears of War, Fallout 3, Diablo, StarCraft, Skyrim. You've also been in DC comic animations like Batman and Superman, Public Enemies, and All-Star Superman. You've also been in games where I
don't know about you, but the one that sticks out to me is G-Force. I mean, come on.
And you've been in G-Force and game in a game that Nobuo Uematsu wrote music for, Lost Odyssey. That's one of my favorite games. The question comes from Cal Payne from Equestria Daily, a website that kind of funnels all the creation of bronies into one place.
Funnels? More like hoses.
Where did you get your start in VA?
In
voice acting, sorry.
Voice acting. Yeah, let's see. Oh, okay. Well, after I had after I moved here to LA, there was after I did the play, and then I moved back down here to LA. The first on camera job that I ever had was basically kind of a gift from a gal who we were in the acting classes together in college. She had come down here and she had become like a producer, an assistant producer. And there was a TV movie with Martin Sheen called Shattered Spirits. And I had a small part in that. And there were some friends of hers that knew that I was an actor, and they had this weekend local radio show that was all about, call in, ask questions about your home computer. Home computers were still kind of a new thing, and
costs a lot of money.
Yeah, it's like, what do I do? Why do they call it a mouse? and so they knew that I was an actor, and and they asked if I would do some little commercials for them, for their show, and I said, yeah, sure. And I remember one of them was like it was like a spoof of the dating game where there's like three, bachelors, and I played all three of them, different characters, for this short little, radio commercial. I did 2 or 3 radio commercials for them, and that just kind of got me thinking. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I'd sit in my room and watch TV and try and just kind of talk back and mimic voices on TV or whatever. And doing those little commercials kind of got me thinking about, is this like I guess it's something that people actually do. So I took a class, a workshop here in LA. The woman who taught the class was really helpful and encouraging to me, and she gave me the name of an agent and a number, and said, tell her that I encouraged you to call. And I did. I called this agent, and she had absolutely no interest at first, and kind of hung up. The teacher said, that's kind of the way it goes around here. I would say keep trying, try again in a week or two. And I did. I called like 2 or 3 times, and the one time that I did call, this agent, I guess, had like a half a minute to spare, and I said, I had these commercials here that I've done. I could play them for you. And she kind of was okay. So I literally held the phone up to a tape player, and I played these commercials, which were like on a cassette tape.
Oh, wow.
Over the phone.
Wow.
I guess it wasn't bad enough that it made her just say, leave me alone. She said, well, okay, you know what? Call me back in a week, et cetera, et cetera. I'm trying to make this a shorter story. So I finally, did talk to her, and she called me in to read for her, having heard these little commercials, and then eventually said, okay, well, we'll go ahead and, sign you up.
Let me be a lesson to you aspiring VAs out there. If this is not just easy now, where you just hit record on your laptop and just email it in. No.
Yeah, no, it was. Oh God.
Had to make mixtapes.
Literally, you would go, you'd go to your agent's office where they have a recording booth. You would audition, and then they would have the tape, and they would have to cut it all together, and then a courier would come over and grab this stack of tapes, and then run across town and give it to the casting people or whatever.
Oh dear God!
That's how I did it when I first started.
Don't we love technology?
Yeah,
Made things so much better.
Yeah, and then
I record in my closet.
I do too.
It's a great place to record. Okay, so let me just go ahead and ask the question that a lot of people are going to know you for. How did you get in contact with Blizzard, or did Blizzard get in contact with you about doing Deckard Cain?
Okay. I think I sort of remember. I was actually doing some things for a different company, which it changed names a few times. One of them was like Knowledge Adventure. These were like interactive things, but kind of more educational in nature. I mean, there were lots of different fun characters, but it was all about, reading or math or learning history and stuff like that. And these were, CD-ROM games. And I think that this company, or the companies that changed names, were all kind of under the umbrella of Blizzard at the time. So at the end of this one session, as I recall, they just kind of threw something out at me and said, we want to, they're working on this other thing. Didn't even know what it was. And there's a character that we want to just have you try. Just, do a little audition here. And they sort of made some suggestions. Yeah, he's like an older character, kind of a wizard, a wise, and he may I think they, suggested he might sort of sound like an older Sean Connery. And so, just started doing Sean Connery, but a little older. And it was kind of, I don't think I really thought much of it at the time, other than, it was another audition, but they had me do it right then and there on the spot at this studio at the Knowledge Adventure place. And I said, okay, thank you. Well, we'll see. They didn't even really tell me what it was for.
Later, did you enjoy the finding out that you were in helping adventurers destroy demons?
Yeah, I don't remember how much after that it actually happened. They said, yeah, we're doing this thing, and we had this character that you read for once upon a time. We'd like to, have you try it. And it was maybe it was a year later or so. And even then, it was like, okay, I still wasn't really sure what this was all about. Certainly had no idea that it would become the behemoth that it grew into.
Kind of a good choice of words there for the type of game it is, because Diablo is massively popular, and just the hint of Diablo 3 was in production back in the day, fans were foaming at the mouth, rabid, wanting it now.
Can I be am I a bad person if I've never played Diablo?
You're on a Mac.
I'm
I can't blame you. You're on a Mac. You're not a big boy. You don't have a big boy computer yet.
Well, I wouldn't say you're a bad person. I just think that you'll probably rot in the deepest furnace of hell.
I've been eaten by a grue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a bit. Blizzard.
And it was early on that, just as a sidelight, that the guy who did the music for Diablo, which is pretty iconic, had come up with this, kind of a joke thing, the Kane rap.
That we magically played at the beginning of this, and it was awesome.
Which I will take credit for a good portion of the lyrics, because it was all just kind of made up as, the track was there, the backing track, and they had written out a few stanzas and ideas about lines, so we pretty much kind of made it up right then and there. And I'm trying to remember some of the lines. The line about I'm old and ancient, somewhat of a relic, but people tell me I look like Tom Selleck.
Full disclosure, when Draco here told me that we were having Michael Gough on the show, I thought you were Alfred. I'm like, wait a minute, isn't he dead?
Oh.
I had to run over to Wikipedia. I'm like, no.
Jeez.
That's gotta be weird.
I used to get his fan mail all the time, especially when there was a Batman movie, that had come out.
Well, he is, to be honest, he was a very wonderful actor.
Oh, he was fantastic, and
It just feels weird though.
Well, even when I was a kid, I would see his name, attached to something, and I'd say, "Oh, wow, there's another Michael Gough."
I would say that you need to, for the next. I know they got Arkham. What is it? The new Arkham coming out.
Arkham Knight.
Yeah, you need to be like, okay, I know you guys probably already have an Alfred and all the lines are done, but
what is the next Arkham?
Arkham Knight.
Well, as you may or may not know, Arkham Origins, which came out recently.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Gordon, because it's
he wasn't commissioner just yet.
Yeah. So I don't know. I know they've. I haven't heard anything about the next Arkham. So maybe
to the Twitter sphere, I think we need to start a petition up.
Yeah. I think that's what we need to do. But
I'm down with, sure, I would love to continue as Gordon, or whatever, you know.
don't just say whatever. I mean, you end up like David Hayter when Kojima kicked him off the role. Oh man, he was bitter. He was bitter.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Totally. I mean, when I got to do Gordon, I was really pretty thrilled just to be able to, play that character in a pretty iconic universe,
Just to be anything.
It's got a little bit of a following,
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, just be anything on Batman. You could say you were the janitor on Batman Arkham Origins, and that's already a good step in the right direction. I mean, you although like over the past, I would say 10, 15 years, because of the entire explosion of the internet and people being able to locate all the voice actors for everything, and all these conventions inviting voice actors for everything, it's kind of hard to say, yeah, I was Commissioner Gordon. Yeah. Because when you say, I'm Deckard Cain, you're going to get the entire room hooting and hollering. But yeah, I mean, Commissioner Gordon, or Captain Gordon at that point in time, that's a huge role. You have a lot of roles under your belt that people probably would not know, because it actually takes some looking up to do. Like Tassadar, most people don't even know most of the voices in StarCraft. But just to think back, you were in 90s television that most people can, if they grew up in that time, could remember. You're in recent animation movies. So I guess the next question I could say is there any projects on currently that you're working on you could talk about? I know there was one on IMDb that had you listed.
Yeah.
That I don't know if you could talk about just yet.
I'm looking at the very first entry on IMDb. I have no idea what that is. And there have been things that show up on IMDb and they're completely, not true. So, I mean, it's...
Wait a minute, I'm not dead.
Yeah. So that, I haven't a clue what the first entry is, because I've heard nothing about it. So
okay, so the most recent thing you could talk about that you can obviously talk about because it's released. There's no NDA on things that are released. Shadows of Mordor, you were some of the Nemesis works on there.
Yeah, I guess they call it Nemesis orc. When I've been recording this, when it was a particular orc, it was called the Twisted Orc, and I don't know if he's referred to that way.
I couldn't tell you.
Not, yes.
I haven't played the game yet. I got too many games in my backlog, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, apparently, from what they told me, he's become a popular orc, and his whole thing is that he really relishes everything that's twisted and disgusting, and even his little offspring / minions. He, I don't know how to put it delicately, before he may or may not kill them off, he may or may not enjoy having his way with them, and considers them both his children and his concubine, maybe.
Wow. That's well then. Okay then.
Oh my.
But and it's interesting, because the orcs have that, and this one has that kind of London East End London accent, So it's like, no, what are you doing? First I'm gonna rip your guts out by your throat, and then I'm gonna chew your tongue off and split it into pieces and shove it into your ear holes until your brain, he would go on and on.
Wow. Such gruesome imagination there. Well, okay, so I have a question from the really new Mop. I'm going to try to make sense of this a little bit here. Yeah. He asked, when did you first watch Star Wars? I want to add on to that. Have you watched Star Wars?
Which, you mean?
I would assume the movies.
Well, I waited in line for 2 hours when the first movie came out.
Yeah. I was going to say, that's about along the lines of asking, did you go to the movies at all in the 70s?
Well, it somehow, and this was the first time I think I saw something about it in a magazine, because there wasn't, it sort of just came upon us like a meteor crashing to Earth. It was like, I knew nothing about Star Wars or anything until maybe a week before it opened. And then I saw something on the cover of Time magazine or something. Started hearing and reading reviews or whatever. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, this sounds like something we have to see.
What's this about paper?
Yeah,
with words
like
on it? What's that?
It was made from trees.
And it had colors, I assume?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay. It just sounds like newfangled technology that I need to grasp hold on. I better corner the market on this quick.
Wow.
Right.
Much money.
All of a sudden, and that was kind of, trying to think back. I mean, yeah, there had been other things before that where you had to wait in long lines, but that was really the genesis of the whole experience of, like a communal experience of waiting in a long line to see a movie.
Yeah, I mean, without Star Wars, we probably wouldn't have midnight releases that we have nowadays for movies, where people go out and they wait and they wait and they wait. I mean, Pirates of the Caribbean had it when it released new movies. Harry Potter, holy crap, the amount of lines for that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And of course, when I saw it the first time, that was like, oh, geez, got to see this again.
Yeah, I love movies you got to see again.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that I didn't really digest. I got to see this some more.
All right.
On shot first. That's all that I got to say about that.
Okay, well, you voiced for a lot of games. Is there any games that you actually play?
I can't really claim to be much of a player. I'm kind of I'm afraid, because I think I have an addictive personality, and I would never leave the room. I've mostly kind of played along when other people have been playing. So I'm kind of sheepish about it, because I think I probably should play more so I am fully immersed, but
well,
I can't. No,
I fully agree with you. I've got an addictive personality. When I find a game that I really like, I sit down and I marathon it for the first day.
Yeah. That's cool. That's great.
I mean, it's what happens, because it's like, oh, new game, new experience. I want to experience everything. It's like, oh, I will find a good place to save, and the story keeps going. I'm like, I want to know what happens next. I wonder what happens. It's like watching Netflix for a favorite show. I wonder what happens next, and you keep going, and like 2 days later, you're finally done.
Okay, see, I used to do that. Then I got married.
Well, now does the wife, is she a gamer?
No.
Yeah.
There's a reason why he bought an Xbox One instead of like a PlayStation 4 or something else that's useful.
No, she can't. Diner Dash is the extent of her video game prowess. And I do not hold that against her. She has her talent.
Oh.
She'll sit there and read a book like a champ, and she'll marathon through 2 or 3 books in like a day and a half, and I'm just sitting there going, A is for apple.
You're like, okay, I've literally seen Screw Loose start on something and try to finish it the last minute. It's something quite like the SpongeBob episode where he's got to write that paper, and he spends 7 hours writing the word "the" in the most majestic manner possible.
Yes, it's very. For example, something I'm making for a convention that's coming up, and
Yep, yeah, Mr. By the way, if you ever wanted your character like on a badge, Michael, Screw Loose does make embroidered badges that you could. How do you suggest putting those badges on a piece of fabric?
sew them.
Sew them? Okay.
Well, cool. Okay, I'll.
Yeah, I mean, like maybe I can beat the heck out of him and have him send you a Decker Kane one. I'm just saying.
Just saying.
That would be pretty awesome.
I think he's trying to nudge you there, wink, wink.
Well,
But okay, so like Star Wars, that evidently that's a commonplace thing back in the day, where everybody and their mothers went to see it. Sometimes their mothers didn't understand it. It's great. But okay, so you're not really a gamer. If you wanted to get into it and you want to have a good experience getting into it, there's 3 games I suggest, and unfortunately, you're kind of part of 1 or 2 of them. Lost Odyssey's got a really good story. It's actually one of the few games that actually immersed me enough to make me feel emotion, like sadness and whatnot. It's a really good game. It's an RPG, so it requires some pre-planning into actions, what you want to do as far as combat-wise. There's another game that's older. Much older for the SNES. You can probably find it on, I think it's on the Wii Virtual Console or the 3DS Virtual Console. I can't remember. Chrono Trigger.
What is it?
Chrono Trigger. It's a really old game, like 1996. I want to say.
Yeah. Wow.
You're starting him out with Chrono Trigger? Really?
Heck yeah.
The guy said he has an addictive personality.
Yeah, and I also gave him Lost Odyssey, and that gave me a week's. I took a week's vacation to play that when it first came out. Mainly because 1, I needed a freaking vacation, and 2, I pre-ordered the game, so might as well just play it. Never beat it, by the way. I'm currently trying to do that. There's another game that is rather good that I am failing to remember the name of right now. It's terrible. No, the game's not terrible. It's terrible I can't remember it. Oh, if you like Dark Macabre, you can. The other game that you're in, Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines, it's pretty good. The only issue is it's technical in getting started because it requires player-made patches and whatnot to actually make it work effectively.
Sounds like I'd be in trouble.
Oh, jeez.
But as far as like addictive goes, Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines allows you to save pretty much anywhere you want, as long as you're not in combat. Lost Odyssey, it's got a lot of different save points, different areas. However, the story really kept me addicted a little bit. But it does slow down to enough where you can save without ruining the story gap. Another set of games that you could try, there's a Final Fantasy 13 series. There's the Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 13 Part 2, and Final Fantasy 13 Lightning Returns.
How do you, what is it?
Final Fantasy 13, the series, the entire series. There's 3 games in that.
I'm not getting. I got the 13 part. But what...
Oh, they made it into 3 different parts. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you. The first one's just Final Fantasy 13. The second part is Final Fantasy.
I'm not getting the word before the 13.
Oh, Final Fantasy.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. I speak kind of fast when I'm trying to get through a lot of words.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
We also call him Mushmouth.
That's all right. Somebody once told me I had the worst California accent they had ever heard. They were from Indiana. And
I'm picking up a little bit.
Why's it gotta be an Indiana thing? Why's it gotta be an Indiana thing?
Well, this was somebody from Indiana who said that I had a really thick California accent, and I just like, what? I didn't even know there was such a thing, really. And I still don't really know what it is. I mean, there's the, stereotypical, surfer dude kind of thing, but...
Dude, yeah. No, okay, so we got a question from Commander Dustrunner. But to finish on the thought of Final Fantasy 13, the reason why those are good is because when you... it's kind of a hallway. They call it... The fan nickname is Final Hallway 13 because it's very linear. Very little side stuff to go do, except towards the end of the game. However, that side stuff is actually very confined as well. But when you restart the game, it gives you a little bit of like, here's what happened up to this point. And Final Fantasy 13 Part 2 actually gives you like a soap opera like rundown of Final Fantasy 13, the story so far, and it gives you like the highlights of what happened up to that point. And it's pretty interesting, and it's kind of a beginner's Final Fantasy game, I would say.
That would be good for me.
Work your way back from there. It's got an auto battle sequence, so that way the game will pick a list of moves that helps out more. But we got a question from Commander Dustrunner asking about your appearance on Shrek games.
Yeah.
Would you consider your appearance very Shrek-like or not very Shrek-like?
Well,
I don't know. He doesn't look very green or ogreish to me. Or Michael Myers.
You mean, well, I hopefully whatever is there is very Shrek-like.
Yeah.
Who is filtering these questions?
I don't know.
Interestingly, there's some stuff I've been doing just recently. It's for, I believe it's for like a DreamWorks has like a YouTube TV channel.
Yes.
They're making a bunch of shorts, featuring all the different DreamWorks characters. And just over the last few months, I've done a few of those, and this is it's motion capture, performance capture, whatever you call it, where you're wearing the suit and you're wearing the headgear with the camera, attached to it. If you know what I'm talking about, the suit with all the reflective things on it. It's like a tight, thing. And so this is the first time that I've actually, done something, bodily, actually just acting and performing the character.
So, yeah, you put on the suit. It's got all those round balls on it that actually capture your motion.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. It's a lot different than just giving a character a voice. That's actually becoming the character.
Yeah, and these are pretty. It's pretty simple. There isn't a whole lot of running around and stuff because they're short. But it's a whole different thing because you're doing the voice as well, but you all are also embodying the character. And there's a guy who's doing donkey and so
wait, hold on. You're telling me they're doing motion capture, and they got a guy who's doing donkey. Now, wait, is he wearing a motion capture suit with like a thing in like a 4 legs in the back, or is he...
No, they've been. It's all. Sometimes he's just sitting so that he's lower to the ground. Most of the animation comes later. He's not like walking around on all fours. Although when they were experimenting at first, they tried some of that, and they try to keep the movement simple, but sometimes you can see it in real time. You can see a kind of a rough version of what's going on. So you see like Shrek and Donkey, standing there in the woods talking to each other, and so he may like move his arms up and down a little bit, which would be Donkey's, front legs gesturing. But yeah, no, he doesn't have to walk around on all fours. And
that'd be hilarious, though.
I'd have a GoPro and just be like, "Oh, this is good."
All right, it's time for one last question. Screwless, you have a question you want to ask him?
Sure do.
Okay. So we've said multiple, or let me rephrase that, as Draco has said multiple times, your breadth of your repertoire is very massive. There's no innuendo in that. Anyway,
better to be massive than minuscule, I always say.
Yes, unless it's a tumor.
You got a point.
Yes.
All right. Has there ever been a situation where you're listening to watching or playing or whatnot, and you're like, "Wait a minute, I think I did that one."
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I can usually remember if I've done something or not, but sometimes I've heard things that, God, that sounds like me, but it's not me. Uh,
Let me
yeah,
go
there have
check
been a few
IMDb.
times
Did I
where
do this one?
huh?
Let go head on over to IMDb. Wait a minute. Did I actually do this one?
Yeah. Well, there have been a few things that showed up on IMDb that that I have to
send in corrections about.
Sorry, that's not me.
Yeah.
Or some things that are missing, and so let me add this in. Well, like the thing that they have listed first right now. Like I mentioned, I have no idea what that is. Never heard hide nor hair of it, and so I'm having the feeling that might not be true. But
or they just haven't contacted you yet, or something. We don't know. That's the reason I'm not naming it.
Yeah.
Because last thing I want is you to like possibly miss out on a role because it's there and they didn't contact you just yet, or something like that. Don't want to put it past anyone to do that. So,
well, there was something that I I guess maybe I'd forgotten about, and it was pretty recent, and it's right there. The game is Murdered Soul Suspect. Is the name of the game, and I knew I had done something for it, and I couldn't quite remember. So I think I went on YouTube and searched around, and I found this one particular thing that I couldn't quite. Did I do something like that? And I found it, and I was actually, I usually don't, toot my own horn much, but it's just this one scene that's kind of like a stream of consciousness, a monologue about a guy talking about when I think he was like a janitor in the insane asylum or something, and some really kind of awful things were going on, and he's remembering and he's talking about them, and it's disturbing, and
yeah.
And I found it, and I thought, oh wow, I guess that is me, and I thought it sounded pretty good.
That's actually a pretty popular game that's being talked about, just because it's about solving your own murder as a ghost. It's kind of a different perspective.
Yeah, it's a cool premise.
All right, Michael.
Spooky for me.
It's been an hour. I'm going to go ahead and let you go because you do have things to do.
Yeah.
Is there anything
do you, have
want
any,
to
Twitter or anything that people can follow you on?
It's the quick answer is no, but I think I better soon. It's kind of been
way to get
percolating at
the top.
Great
way to get to,
yeah, I'm sorry.
Great way to get in touch with us.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of behind the curve, but well, at least I know how to get in touch with Draco.
Yeah.
So
it's an email. It's an old-fashioned way, but
I know.
Twitter is actually pretty cool because when if people know you have a Twitter account and they're at cons and they see a Decker King cosplay or a Beckett cosplay, if they're at a Vampire Con or they're at a gaming convention and they have oh God, I can't remember the guy's name. Osmond.
Oh, Osmond Sadler.
Yeah, Osmond Sadler cosplay from Resident Evil, because that is a thing. Or one of the Brotherhood of Steel. They could like just tag you into Twitter and you'll be able to see it immediately. It's pretty cool sometimes.
Yeah, I know. Well, give me you guys' Twitter handles.
Oh, we could do that, sure.
Sure, post mine in. I like mine.
Well, now and forgive me, I'm forgetting your ID. I know Draco and
Screw Loose,
yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't care if people know my name, Anthony. It's anonymity on the internet is useless when you actually run and own something. So people can who is my website and find out exactly who I am. So I'm not scared. But yeah, I mean it's been great talking to you. You've got a prolific IMDb and record on task there. It's kind of hard to
don't worry, they have an ointment for that.
Wow, it's kind of hard to beat talking to so many characters that people have grown up with, that they've played games, that have started these roles in, and watched TV with these roles. Commander Spigot, first of all, was like, wow, I didn't know about that. But being Hawkman and Captain Cold and Public Enemy was pretty cool too. But yeah,
hey, it's been it's a blast. It's been great talking to you guys, and I'm always just I'm always amazed and grateful that anybody cares enough to want to talk about it. So.
Oh no, it's always something that we want to bring to the forefront. Because Michael Gough, people know of you, people know of your characters. How many it's kind of a different thing. Like how many people can say that they've met you at a con? Because it's one of those things where not a lot of voice actors we've talked to go to a lot of cons. I mean, they're starting to go more and more now, but it's one of those things where it's sometimes these interviews are the only way for them to interact with most people.
I've only been to a few, Comic-Con, BlizzCon, and PAX, which was up in Seattle, actually.
Oh, PAX Prime. Yeah, that's a pretty big one. And so is BlizzCon. BlizzCon's this coming week, so...
Yeah, I haven't, I didn't get invited this year. Went last year. I guess because Deckard Cain is...
you can always crash it and, do the sound like contest with a mask on and completely mic drop it.
And I wouldn't win.
Yeah, it would still be funny, but you might actually don't do that. You might actually get fired. Don't do that. Yeah. But anyway, so thank you very much for coming on again, Michael. It's been great.
Well, it was a pleasure. It was good. It was great talking to you guys and answering questions. And we'll do it again sometime.
All right, if you don't mind holding on about 5 minutes after the call,
sure.
We'll get a little bit of surprise for the listeners for the radio lined up. If you don't mind.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. It's been Blues. I keep saying Blue Screen Bronies. That's our old name. It's been a year.
I'm going to get a taser. I'm just going to sit there and tag you every time you mention that.
Hey, it was a good name. I loved it. The only reason why we changed is because I needed to get art done.
All I'm hearing is excuses.
Yeah, that's all you're hearing. Anyway, so thank you for coming to Button Mashers and being a part of our interview of Michael Gough. I'm sure we're going to get more people in the after view since this is live, and a lot of people are kind of asleep because, it's midterms.
Because you're boring.
Yeah, whatever. Mr. I'm married, the ultimate boring.
Hey, I already won. I already got the achievement. Thank you very much.
I didn't know it was a race, but anyway. So we're gonna end this with the Diablo rap again here with Deckard Cain. Guys, if you want to go ahead and subscribe to Everfree Network, we're gonna have more interviews and hopefully whenever Michael gets some more news he wants to spread out there, we'll send you some more information. Yep, we'll plug some more stuff for Michael. All right, guys, thank you very much, and have a good, awesome week.